Hey guys, I want to introduce a couple of my special friends, and we've already been having a lot of fun before the video even started. This is Amy Carroll and Lynn Cowell, and these are not only women that I have worked with in ministry, these are like women that are my heart, and I mean that with such sincerity, really good friends. And in my book, Joy Keeper, in chapter 4, we talk about a very specific joy stealer, and that is the belief that we have to work harder, strive more, pedal faster, tap dance harder to earn God's approval. And sometimes not just God's approval, but that we have to earn other people's approval as well, which can lead us down a really hard path of people pleasing. And it's just an absolute joy stealer. And I'm laughing because they both said, you chose us specifically for that. So anyway.
I completely feel set up this morning, Suzie.
It's like perfectionist and performancist, or whatever that word is. We're like, it's our pretty faces.
We're the poster children.
No. But Lynn and Amy, we've talked about this before as friends. We have sat and chatted about this and talked about this, especially as I was writing Joy Keeper, because you kind of became my, you led me through this.
We were moms together, and I think Lynn and I helped shape chapter 4.
You did help shape chapter 4. You did. You did. As I rewrote it, it was already written. We spent time together. And I walked away and thought, this is deeper than I thought. And these two beautiful women who live the truth in the midst of this, you guys helped me to really take this so much deeper. And I love that. So to meet that joy stealer, that we have to tap dance harder, work harder, strive more, and that our expectations are set so high that they're almost impossible to achieve. We meet that with this truth. Instead of asking the question, how do I measure up? We ask this question: what measure of Jesus do I need today? Or what measure of Jesus do I need right now in the middle of this situation, or in this conversation with this person, or in this conversation with myself? So how does that change the conversation that's going on in your head if you flip that question?
For me, I have really had to examine my inner voice since we were in the mountains together. Suzie, you shared with Lynn and I that you have an inner cheerleader, and I was literally gobsmacked. I was like, what would that be like to have an inner cheerleader instead of an inner critic? But the truth is, we do have an inner cheerleader. It's Jesus. It's the Holy Spirit in us. And so the inner critic is yapping. I now know, really, even it's so funny to be 52 and have this realization that I need to quiet that voice so I can hear Jesus's voice, who is my inner cheerleader.
I love that. Lynn, what do you think?
Like I said, I was even talking to Greg this morning. I said, hey, I'm hopping on a call with Suzie and Amy. Not quite sure what it's about, but we'll have fun. Well, of course, the Holy Spirit knew what was it about. And this is exactly what he was speaking to me this morning. And that is that the way that I'm wired, which he made me to be wired as a person who is extremely responsible, and feels responsible for people. That is a narrow line between me following the Holy Spirit when he is calling me to be responsible, and when that voice is driving me, as both of you have noticed before. And so this morning, as I was spending time with him, he was just reminding me that the last few weeks I've diverted back. I think during COVID, not being surrounded as much by other people speaking into my life, I've reverted back a little bit to going into that place of where I am being driven by that inner voice, the one that, as Amy said, I need to silence. And that spending time with him in his word is the place where I am filled up, so that I am operating out of an overflow instead of out of this place of inner responsibility. And so I think that the point for me about being a joy keeper is, and I know, Suze, you talk about this in the book, is it really truly is a daily thing. It's not like all of a sudden, oh, Lynn has arrived and she no longer hears that, that might be my, as Paul said, my thorn in my flesh. That might be it. It might be for me, so that I am continually dependent upon him, to have him fill that joy tank, to fill that love tank, so that the things that I'm doing each day, they may look the same. That's one of the things that we talked about. Your actions might not actually change, but what changes is from within, the place that you're operating from.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that what happens is, like you said, your strength is responsibility. And it is. Lynn's going to show up. And not only is she going to show up, she's going to be in there for the long haul. And I know that about her as a friend. So it's absolutely one of your greatest strengths. It's amazing how that some of our greatest strengths, the way that God wired us, can also be some of our biggest, battlegrounds as well. And so what I hear you both saying is that the voice, the inner critic, she is no longer the mean girl or the bully to you, because you're giving the Holy Spirit the greater voice, who takes that part of you that is already strong and shifts it into a strength rather than a weakness. So I love that so much. So if you struggle with an inner critic who has become a bully, I want you to hear this. I really want you to hear this. I mean this from the bottom of my heart, is that God is your safe place. He is not behind that voice, that inner critic, that bully. He gives you rest, and he gives you permission to flip the question from how do I measure up? Because that question just leads us down a road of condemnation. He invites us from condemnation to connect with him as we ask this question: Jesus, what measure of you do I need today? Because I need you every day. But in this moment, when this voice is beating me up, what measure of you do I need to transition from condemnation to connection and communion with you, which is powerful? And you can find out more in my new book that releases today, all the hands, called Joy Keeper. And I'll put a link below that will help you find out more about it. And let's live a life marked by joy.